The Donners and Reed understood the urge to move. They had felt in their own blood the hope for gain and the sense of adventure that was pushing the American frontier steadily westward. George Donner, for example, had traveled from North Carolina to Kentucky, Indiana, and Illinois before going to Texas and then coming back to Springfield. All of them knew how to handle wagons. All were at ease with horses and cattle. In fact, 13-year-old Virginia Reed had a hot-blooded horse of her own that she rode with reckless abandon. Most important, Hastings' words had brought a golden glow to the name California. December there was like May in the eastern United States, he said. Livestock did not have to be kept in dirty, frigid barns while blizzards raged outside. The California soil was amazingly fertile. Crops flourished during days of almost constant sunshine. The malarial fevers and congestive lungs, probably pneumonia, that were common throughout the Mississippi Valley were unknown in California. There, Hastings said, everyone was healthy. Everyone lived to a happy old age. The Donners read those descriptions over and over. They had worked hard during their lives and found the bitter winters of Illinois increasingly hard to bear. If they went to California, they told each other, they would finish out their lives in an almost magical climate. And if they were among the early settlers there, they could buy choice land at cheap prices, land on which their children could establish fine farms and huge cattle ranches. They wouldn't be going alone into danger, they told their neighbors. Each of them would take teamsters along to help with the wagons and herders to drive the extra oxen, horses, and milk cows they would take west with them. Moreover, they would meet in Independence, Missouri, other immigrants attracted to California by Hastings' guide. By joining with them, they could form a wagon train strong enough to overcome whatever hazards they met along the way. The guide even told what kind of rough clothes to wear and how much food to take. Each grown-up would need 200 pounds of flour, some cornmeal and hardtack, and a large basket of dried fruit. They'd want a supply of fat bacon. It would keep well if it was carried along buried in bran. They'd need some jerky, salt, sugar, tea, and coffee. Pickles brought freshness back to dry mouths. And once the train reached the Great Plains, they would be able to hunt antelope and buffalo for meat. Of course, they would have to take along guns and powder and lead for hunting, as well as for protection in case of an Indian attack. Another thing that struck the Donners' attention was Hastings' remark in the guide about a new trail to California. In the past, the few immigrants who wanted to reach California by land had started out along the well-marked Oregon Trail. After crossing the Continental Divide, that road turned northwest to a rest stop at Fort Hall in what is now southeastern Idaho. Near Fort Hall, emigrants bound for California left the Oregon Trail. They slanted southwest for scores of miles to what became known as the Humboldt River. They then followed the Humboldt almost to the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains of California. Northwest, then southwest. Surely California travelers could shorten the distance by going directly west. In his guidebook, Hastings implied that he had recently discovered such a shortcut. After crossing the Continental Divide, Californians should turn southwest, not northwest. They should skirt the southern end of a vast inland sea called Great Salt Lake. They should then head almost due west until they reached the Humboldt River. Almost surely, the Donner brothers and James Reed recognized the vagueness in the book's description of the new trail. But they did not question it. They wanted to believe Hastings because his shortcut would save time and distance. Such savings could be very important to people traveling thousands of miles with wagons. What the Donners didn't know was this. When Hastings wrote his description, he had never seen the proposed shortcut. He was following his own secret plan. During his brief visit to California in 1845, he had acquired a large grant of land in the Sacramento Valley. His idea was to divide that land into smaller pieces he could sell at a profit to newcomers from the United States. He also